Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today the Houston Texans are bringing back Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes, who's been with the Texans for the last 2 seasons, is coming back to play with the Texans, and honestly, I was a little surprised by this deal. Not like super shocked, but I really thought that the Texans would move on for Jerry Hughes, especially with some of the additions they made to the defensive line this offseason. And the fact that Jerry Hughes kind of lost a little bit of playing time last season with the defensive line being improved compared to the 2022 season in its first year with the Texans. And there were a little bit of trade rumors with Jerry Hughes last year with the Texans. There were some rumblings and some talks that the Texans were potentially going to trade him at the trade deadline. He was the most expected player for the Texans to get moved at the deadline. Nothing happened with him, and they didn't move him, and he stayed with the team. But there were a lot of talks, and he was the most expected Houston Texan to get traded at the deadline last year. There was some interest from other teams, especially his former team, the Buffalo Bills, and just a little surprised that he came back to play with the Texans, or the fact that, I mean, you could argue that the fact that he's coming back at all. He's 35 years old, and he's going into his 15th season with the Texans now. But, I mean, he is from this area. He's from Sugar Land, which is not far from here. I mean, Sugar Land is, what, an hour away? Or no, I just went to Sugar Land. I just went to Sugar Land a couple weeks ago. It was a 30. Well, I live in Houston, and it was like a almost 40-minute drive in serious traffic with like a bad wreck. So with no traffic, Sugar Land's 25-30-minute drive, just depending on where you're going from Houston to Sugar Land. So he lived, he was born very close to Houston, went to college at TCU in Texas, and even went to high school at Stephen F. Austin. So he's from this area. I'm sure that might have played a role in him wanting to come back to the Texans. But I did hear that there was some interest from the Buffalo Bills, where he has spent the most time in his career, playing 9 seasons. He's 4th all time in Bills sacks, franchise sacks, and they had some interest in bringing him back. He had 53 sacks in 9 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. I want to go over what he's done in the last 2 seasons with the Texans. He's played 34 games with 18 starts. He's had 1 interception, which he returned for 14 yards, 1 pass is deflected, 3 forced fumbles, 12 sacks, which is pretty solid in 2 years, especially for someone at the end of their career. 67 tackles with 14 tackles for loss. And the reason why I was talking about is like how his playing time went down compared, to if you compare the 2 seasons, 22 and 23 with the Texans. With the Texans in those 2 years, like in the 22 season, he's with the Texans, and he plays 17 games. He has 16 starts with the Texans, and he was great for us. He had 1 interception. He had 9 sacks. He was great for the Texans' defense. But then the next season comes by. The Texans' defensive line is a lot better, especially at the defensive end position. Jonathan Grenard has a huge season for the Texans. Will Anderson is getting playing time because they drafted Will Anderson. And he does play every single game, all 17 games, but he only starts in 2. So his starts went down by 14. And last year, yes, he does get a forced fumble, gets 3 sacks, but didn't get a lot of playing time compared to before with the Texans. And this was the least amount he has started in a season since the 2013 season with the Buffalo Bills. I mean, he's started at least 15 games every season of his career until this year in 2023 with the Texans starting only 2 games. And the last time he started, not the last time he didn't start this much was in 2013 when he only started in 1 game. But since 2013, you can go over all the years. 2014, 16 starts. 2015, 16. 2016, he started in 15. 2017, he had 16 starts. 2018, 16. 2019, he started in 16 games. 2020, he started in 15. 2021 with the Bills in his last year, 16, and with the Texans in 22, 16. So that's what, like, I think, 8-9 straight seasons where he's starting almost every game he's playing, and then all of a sudden he's not a starter with the Texans. So I was not confident in all that the Texans were going to bring him back, but this is a major depth signing for the Houston Texans, and this defensive line is even more scary than it was for the Houston Texans. Let me know your thoughts on the signing in the comment section for the Texans, and peace out. Go Texans.